Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Speed Mooting Partners in Crime podcast.
Hi guys.
I'm John.
And I'm Hayley.
And this is the podcast where we talk all things speed mooting, all things Advocacy Club, all things law, and pretty much everything else.
Everything else in between.
Yeah. So today it should be a fun episode and we hope you enjoy.
We are on episode number
55.
55.
So let's see if you can guess who number 55 is. So we're back into the world of Formula One.
Okay.
Current driver.
Okay.
Spanish. His dad was a two-time World Rally Champion and was Colin McRae's teammate at Subaru.
Doesn't help me. I'm trying to think who's Spanish.
Okay. I'll give you the big clue. It's not Fernando Alonso.
Yep.
Okay. He currently drives for Williams. Last season he drove for Ferrari.
Oh. I can see him. Perez?
Close, but not quite. Perez does speak Spanish, but it's not Perez.
Who drove for Ferrari? No, Perez drove Red Bull, didn't he?
He drove Red Bull.
Who drove for... Leclerc's still in Ferrari.
Leclerc is still there. He's technically got the same first name as Leclerc.
Charles...
But it's a different variation on Charles.
I give up.
Carlos Sainz.
Carlos Sainz, damn.
Yeah, so Carlos Sainz, episode number 55. Carlos Sainz, brilliant driver. 2023 when Red Bull had a dominant season, he was the only non-Red Bull driver to win a race that season. I suppose Daniel Ricciardo did as well, but, one of the only drivers to really give Max Verstappen a good run as a teammate.
Mm-hmm.
So back in 2015, they were teammates at Toro Rosso. Very good season, that one. Drove very well. Drove well at McLaren, drove well at Renault, and then, he's done brilliantly at Ferrari. I think he's beaten Leclerc on a few occasions when they've been teammates across the course of a season. So, he's just unlucky that Lewis Hamilton happened to be on the driver market.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any team that was going to turn their nose up at signing Lewis Hamilton.
I don't think so.
So, but you never know. Who knows how long Hamilton's got left in this sport? It's sad to say, but, he's not going to be driving forever. So that Ferrari seat might open up for him again.
Well, Fernando Alonso's still going. He's like 10 years Lewis' senior.
Not quite that much. He's Fernando Alonso, I think, is 43 or 44. Lewis has just turned 40.
Oh, okay.
So he's not that much older.
He's got a few years left in him if he wants to.
Yeah, Fernando's going to be there till he's 50. I wouldn't be surprised. So I wouldn't be surprised if Lewis did the same, to be honest. It's a shame to see Carlos Sainz not in a race-winning car anymore because he's got the talent to be there, but watch this space.
Watch this space.
So welcome to episode 55, the Carlos Sainz special.
Welcome.
So, we had an interesting day, didn't we, Hayley?
We did. We had a fun day. So to give you people some context, it is Thursday, the 17th of April.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're listening to this, it will be Good Friday.
It certainly will.
And hopefully you're all enjoying a 4-day weekend.
Yeah, hopefully.
I know some people have to work. If you do, we feel for you.
Yeah, we're in that boat. We've got a bit of work to do this weekend.
Not too much though.
Not massively. We've got a few bits and bobs to catch up on.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure we have some fun this weekend as well. We need it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm having a look at a car this weekend, aren't I? So I'm not going to reveal what it is. We'll do the big reveal next weekend. Next week if I buy it.
Yeah.
If I buy it. We viewed one car last week, didn't we? Wasn't quite the right thing.
It was amazing. It was just out of budget, wasn't it, for what
it
was?
They were just asking too much money for what the car was. Just wasn't worth the money that they were asking for. So, the car that we're looking at this weekend is on the money. So, assuming it's all right, I might buy it. So that'll be interesting. We'll do a big reveal on it next week.
I'm also becoming a fully fledged Catholic this weekend.
You certainly are. I'm completing my Catholic journey, so we are both candidates at present.
Mm-hmm.
So Hayley is going to do her first ever confession on Saturday, first
communion and confirmation.
All
at once.
I'm doing my confirmation.
You have to do confession as well.
Yeah, I need to do confession, but it's not the first confession, though.
No.
Not my first. Yeah, so that's going to be good, and then we'll obviously go for the service on Easter Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We've got our fishing ready for Good Friday tomorrow.
Yep.
It's always interesting whenever you drive past the chippies by us on Good Friday, the queues are down the street.
Yeah. So this is interesting, a little sideways fact that people may not know, because I didn't know. I'm still not 100% sure.
Go on.
But I always thought the reason that you didn't eat meat on Good Friday was, it's the day Jesus died, meat, like human meat, like Jesus' body, a grim reason why you don't eat it.
Yeah.
And then Freddie was telling me that, so Freddie is John's sister-in-law, very new sister-in-law, she's Italian, that it's just because something to do with that's what Jesus ate and that's what all the poor people ate, so we eat it like to honour what Jesus would have eaten.
Yeah, possibly, yeah, because he used fish to feed the 5,000, didn't he?
Yeah, so, I know, yeah. But so if anyone actually knows for real why we don't eat meat, is it one of those reasons or is it something completely different? Comment and let us know, because we're going to be fully fledged Catholics after this weekend, so we probably should know.
Yeah, I'm amazed you've not brought it up in one of Father Terence's classes.
Well, it only came up very recently. I don't think it came up since, because we didn't have class on Wednesday, did we? Because we've done all our pre-studies now, if you want to call it that. I'm sure it only came up like last time we were all in the Fireways together.
Yeah, probably.
So I might ask him Saturday morning.
Yeah, bring it up. I mean, I'm there asking. I was asking about whether the Corinthians ever wrote back to St. Paul, because we're constantly hearing about St. Paul's letters to the Corinthians at the moment, aren't we?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So Father Terence chuckled when I brought that up anyway. But enough about religion. Let's get back to why we're here. So we were talking about today, weren't we?
Yes.
And Hayley, for probably only the second time in your life, entered a Crown Court.
No, I did. Well, I did a couple of,
you did
in the summers. Me and like my friend Emma went along and stuff, but not properly. Yeah, I haven't been in the Crown Court for 21, 20 maybe. So it's been a while.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Funny story about going to the Crown Court. So me and a good mate of mine used to do the same. I think it was like third year. When we were off in the summer, we'd go to the Crown Court, and we were watching a pretty big trial. It was a massive drugs importation trial, and just to get into the public gallery, they had like sort of one of those body scanners that you walk through like at the airport, or like you have in any court. They had one just on the top floor in this court, so never mind getting into the court building itself, on the top floor. And I think it's because the trial was so high. Well, we didn't really know what it was, but it must have been relatively high profile, and there were so many defendants involved that they had sort of officers there alongside the security gate, and they were taking basic information from people that were going in to watch the trial. So every day that we were going in to watch this, we went through and we were giving our names and all the rest of it. And sometimes if ever there's a break during the day, we'd be sitting outside in the sort of general concourse area to go back in. And we got chatting, just by chance, to one of the family members of one of these people who were on trial or something. And he was like, he turned around and he goes, "Oh, that Bobby that's checking us in, he's like something off Heartbeat, isn't he?" Started referring to the guy as Heartbeat. It just made us chuckle.
We got put off from doing it because we did it a few times, and I think I didn't. Well, I definitely didn't know the things I know now, like find an usher or find out what's on the different courtrooms and stuff. So we didn't know any of that stuff, so we were just like wandering around aimlessly, just like going into courtrooms.
Yeah.
And we probably went in one that was either like, I can't even remember what it was, but it was something very, very dull, and there wasn't many people in the courtroom. So maybe we went into judges' chambers or something, and we didn't even know. And we were just sat there like making notes and stuff, and like this one barrister turned around, and I remember, and he was like, "Oh, a fan club," and he obviously wasn't happy that we were in there. We were just like, So I got up and like crept out. We were like, well, we're not allowed. But there wasn't no signs saying like don't enter or.
No, some people are just snotty, aren't they?
Yeah.
There's just no need for it, particularly when someone's there, they're coming to court, probably very nervous, like you would have been, I would have been, and the last thing you need is some snotty barrister, making remarks like that, and there's just no need for it whatsoever. No need whatsoever, and that's what puts people off.
Yeah, it's probably few and far between that happens, so don't let that put you off if you are planning to observe in the courtroom. Most people are very nice and very friendly and very welcoming, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I went along to watch John in action today.
Yeah.
You were waiting a little bit, weren't we, for your hearing to start, so we got to see a few other bits as well.
Yeah.
What hearings did I see? So we seen one where a defendant, what was that one, being a James?
So the first one, so he was produced over the video link, and no idea what the offence was. It didn't really come up, but it appears that it must be relatively serious because custody was very much on the table, and I think it was accepted all around that custody is the most likely option. But there was a pre-sentence report that had been prepared previously, and I think we've spoken about pre-sentence reports on this podcast before. Long and short, if someone's being sentenced, normally for the first time or for the first time in a long time, pre-sentence report will be granted, and the probation service meets with the individual and produces a report to comment upon their lifestyle, their background, etc., etc. But the crucial part of the pre-sentence report is to identify any risk factors for repeat offending, particular risk factors in relation to particular victims, and crucially, whether that person can be managed in the community, i.e. if the judge is going to think about community order, suspended sentence, can that person be managed in the community? And from what the defence barrister said in his application, it would appear that the pre-sentence report that has been prepared was done on the basis of incorrect information, wasn't it?
Yeah, they said something like it was saying custody is inevitable, which whatever the offence was, which we don't know. The judge was saying, well, that's not correct, so they had to go get another pre-sentence report, adjourn it off, and in the meantime, this poor guy, or maybe not poor guy, maybe he deserves to be there, we don't know the ins and outs.
Yeah, we don't know.
But he's got to wait on remand till some point in May. So we saw that. We also, what else did we see? Oh, the youth offender trying to get his shopper, did you call it?
Yeah, so a shopper, we call it for short, so a sexual harm prevention order. So sexual harm prevention order is an order that's given when somebody's sentenced in relation to certain sexual offences. And normally it will have terms attached to it. So typical terms, so normally if somebody, let's say they've committed image-based offending, so let's say they've got, child abuse material or other forms of illegal material on the devices, normally the terms of it will be you have to, if you buy any device, any form of electronic device, phone, computer, tablet, etc., you need to report that to the police and log it within the police within 3 days. Every time you set up a new email address, get a new phone number, etc., you need to report that to the police. Normally, you're not allowed to have VPNs on your computer, so virtual private networks, they're not allowed on there. There's normally conditions in relation to your internet search history, and deletion can be a breach of the SHOPO. And if ever the police wanted access to your devices, you have to grant it within a reasonable time. So these are the typical terms that go within a SHOPO. There's others, but these are just the general things. So I think he was, once again, there weren't many facts that were given, so it appears that the judge must have seen the papers beforehand, and he was very efficient, this judge, I thought.
Oh yeah, and he was really good.
So I have no idea what the facts of this one were, but it would appear he's seems like he's awaiting trial in relation to one thing, but must have been sentenced on something else.
Yes.
And it looks like the SHOPO have been granted on the basis of this thing that he's awaiting trial for. So the judge just said, well, it doesn't matter, he's not been convicted of that yet. So
it's not a necessity.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got to see that. There was a couple of just like fixes, weren't there? So they were fixing dates for trials and asking how many witnesses are coming, any experts, okay, how long do we need? So we got to see a couple of those, which is good because I always hear you talk about those.
Yeah.
So are they like mention and fix hearings?
Probably, yeah. So it's that. So one of them, for example, was in relation to an appeal. So someone had been convicted in the magistrate's court, and the solicitor came to court, didn't she, to deal with that? And yeah, so that would have been probably just the standard, as you say, mention and fix for the appeal itself. And you're dealing with, that's what we call case management.
Yes.
So what in your civil world, where you've got your directions questionnaires and you do everything on the paper, here we just let's have a mention, let's go.
It's very, very, yeah. I mean, for that particular one, the solicitors hadn't saved the expert report when they should have. So it was supposed to be saved, I don't know, 2 weeks prior, and they only saved it like a couple of days ago. So the judge didn't have it, the prosecutor didn't have it, and he was like, well, why? And she was like, oh, I don't know, I don't have instructions. And he was really friendly with her in the first place because she said, forgive me, I've never been in the Crown Court before. And he was like, don't worry, it's much the same as anywhere else. And But he did give her a bit of a grilling about that, didn't he?
Yeah.
And at one point he said, well, did you know about it? She was like, well, I didn't. And he went, no, you was in your firm, the collective you. And she was like, well, yes. And he was like, well, very unsatisfactory.
That's it, yeah.
But then he just goes, okay, so the prosecutor, you've only just got it, so you want an extra 2 weeks. Okay. Like, that's it. In the civil world, there would have been sanctions and cost consequences, but in the criminal world, everyone just kind of moves on.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's delays for you.
And then it was John's hearing, so we can talk about yours in general terms.
Yeah, very, very general terms.
So it was an appeal against sentence for speeding, and it was a successful appeal.
It was successful, wasn't it? Yeah. So my client was sentenced very much top of the shop in relation to the specific bracket on the guidelines, and she was sentenced under the single justice procedure. So that's whereby the certain offences, so normally motoring type offences, and the local police authority will write out to the individual and say, you know, you're charged with whatever it might be. So normally it might be things like speeding, no insurance, mobile phone, seatbelts, that kind of thing. And there's normally 3 options on the form. You can say, yes, I'll plead guilty, please sentence me in my absence. Yes, I'll plead guilty, I want to come to court and present mitigation, or I want to plead not guilty. Okay. So in relation to this particular case, a guilty plea had been entered, and the court had been invited to sentence administratively. And what had happened was the court had just straight away gone, yeah, top of the shop and top of the bracket in terms of sentencing. So what we wanted to do is we needed the opportunity to present some mitigation and get a more reasonable sentence.
Yeah.
And so we went along, and I presented my plea in mitigation, didn't I? Was it strange seeing me do all the formalities, you know?
Yeah, I'm kind of used to, you know, because you've done hearings at home, haven't you? So I've kind of heard bits and pieces of it. But yeah, it does always get me when you stand up, may it please the court, and it's. I mean, I've said this before, and it's strange. Like, you teach people to do things and say things a certain way, but it still seems bizarre seeing it in real life. Like, you think like things in like a moot courtroom wouldn't translate to the real courtroom, but they really do.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's all about courtesy, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I must say though, I said this to you, didn't I, that it was interesting seeing you in conference with the client as well, because you think you'd have to put on this big persona and be all formal and I'm a barrister, but you were just very like chilled and conversational and put the client at ease, very much like just the same person that you are.
Same guy, yeah.
Yeah, it's
like I was saying
nice
to you, because you there's no point standing on ceremony, because, you know, a lot of your clients, you know, the court is just such a bizarre world. You know, it's a world of wigs and gowns and referring to people in, you know, the third person and all the rest of it. It's a bizarre world. So it's nice just to show the client that, yeah, you're just a regular person. You can chat to them in the same way, and that's what clients want. They don't want some barrister that stands on ceremony. I mean, maybe some clients do, I don't know. But
well, definitely not in the criminal world. Maybe in some civil circles.
Yeah, but I think definitely in the criminal world, I think well, this is my personal opinion, and this is the way I go about things. I think clients want someone who's down to earth and that they can relate to.
Yeah. As you say, it's really scary, isn't it, that today was just a speeding offence, but it still meant a great deal to the client.
Well, it was very important, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, even like when the judge and the 2 magistrates went out to consider it, you were still like having a chat with your client, putting them at ease. It was, it's really good.
Yeah. Oh, glad you thought of that. But yeah, and we got a good outcome, didn't we? Because where the administratively the clients have been sentenced very much at the top of the bracket, we managed to get a sentence right at the bottom of the bracket, didn't we? So we took it the other way. And the judge, he was very good in his sentencing remarks, because he says, the single justice can't be criticised for the way in which they've sentenced, because they've just looked at the pure facts. And, if you look at it from a purely factual point of view, you can see why they've made the decision that they have. Once you look at it in the clear light of day, once you hear the mitigation, you can understand why it should have been sentenced differently. So he was very, very fair in his sentencing remarks, I thought, and good day all around.
It was a good day, yeah. And just some observations from me. So it's interesting, as I say, I've been in the court a handful of times just as a student, not really understanding what's going on, who's that person, who's that person, who's that person, don't really know the ins and outs. But today, even though I was still watching from the outside, I just understood that world a lot more.
Yeah.
And because you took me behind the scenes, so we came into the robing room, had a good chat with people. We sat in the courtroom in between the hearings. Every time the judge left, everyone was having a chat and stuff.
Yeah.
So I could already see from that little snippet today that it's not as scary as you think it is. Everyone's really friendly. You're laughing and joking with each other. And I mean, that's not to downplay some of the formalities and seriousness of it. It makes me laugh. Every time you come into the courtroom, you bow. Every time you leave, you bow to the judge.
Yeah.
And people, when they finish the court, may I be excused? I mean, this judge was quite laid back. I was saying, you don't have to ask, but you were saying some judges would get really offended if you don't ask.
Well, because the etiquette is, so you shouldn't leave your... So if you think about it like this, there's a defence seat and a prosecution seat on the front row. And if there's someone behind you ready to fill it, then obviously, you can leave, sort of thing. But if there wouldn't be anyone there, you need to wait until you're excused by the judge. And that's why I asked for permission to leave, because there was no one behind me ready to fill that seat, as it were.
Yeah.
I don't know where that comes from. I remember just reading that, when I was joining the bar. Always stand up when you're addressed, whereas, and that's one of the differences in the Crown Court and the Magistrates Court. So I was in the Mags last week, and we were dealing with a simple point, and whilst I was waiting for something, I was standing on my feet, and the chairwoman of the bench said, "Mr. Dove, sit down, you're making me nervous." I said, "Sorry, I'm used to being in the Crown Court where I stand while being spoken to." So it's just little sort of formalities like that, isn't it?
I love it. A lot of people, when they were finishing, would say "Thank you, Your Honour. Good morning," and then leave. And it's there's just so many little nuances that seem strange when you don't know the custom, and it's okay, that's what people do. But it's, as I say, that when you understand the circle a bit more and how the world works, and you're chatting to people here, there, and everywhere, you think, it's not actually a scary place, the Crown Court. I mean, when the judge was giving the solicitor a grill, and I was I could feel it for her. So it must still be scary at times, when you're the one under pressure.
Yeah.
But I suppose you get used to it.
I mean, there's times when you're there and you just think, I just want the world to, swallow me up at this point, sort of thing. But you get through it. But as you say, it's not scary at all. Well, it can be, but I actually find the Crown Court, advocacy more easier in the Crown Court, simply because it's a much slower pace in the Crown Court. So people
you can take your time and be more deliberate.
You can take your time. People speak a lot more slowly in the Crown Court, so they're always thinking about what the next thing is, and that's why people speak slowly. And the sentences are quite staccato, so you wouldn't say a full sentence. You can almost feel the commas in people's sentences as they're talking. And I think because you're dealing with much more serious offences, offences of the utmost seriousness. You get on with your opponent quite well as well, because if you're uptight all the time about it, it would make the job just so much more. So I've been on very, very serious offences, and you're at trial for some time with your opponent, and you're at loggerheads in the courtroom, but you come out and you're absolutely fine. And even when you're trying to talk about things, can we agree this? Do you need this witness? Do you mind if I lead on this point? Fine.
Yeah.
And then you'll go to the magistrate's court and you'll speak to a prosecutor first appearance. So I've got this, think of a low-level offence, no risk of prison. So we're going not guilty. You're going not guilty? Why would your client plead not guilty to that? You think it's the end of the world, a not guilty plea on this thing, but Go to the Crown Court, you're dealing with the most serious thing. Oh yeah, you're having obviously not laughing and joking about the cases,
No,
but
I know. It's
but
the camaraderie is very palpable. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
It's a nice place to be, and I think once you go behind the scenes in the room, and you're like, oh, okay, it's friendly, it's fine.
Yeah. And and that's why it's easier in many respects. You go a lot slower. So I was dealing with the Crown Court appeal recently, which took 4 days. That was dealt with in under a day in the magistrates' court.
Yeah.
Just because of the speed at which things run there. So it's just a different thing. No, that's not to knock the magistrates' court. I spend a lot of time there. I enjoy it, but it's just different.
This video is brought to you by Speed Mooting. We are an organisation that help aspiring and junior lawyers. We run online and in-person advocacy and mooting competitions. We do online advocacy and public speaking training, and we run lots of other events to assist people on their legal journey. To learn more, visit our website, speedmooting.com.
So that was my morning with John in the Crown Court, which was really great. And if anyone listening to this has got any questions from inside the Crown Court, then let us know, and we can always answer them for you next week.
Absolutely.
While we're on the topic of Crown Court and closely related criminal trials, we've got a pretty good giveaway going on.
We certainly have. So we went last weekend, didn't we, to go and see Murder Trial Tonight?
Yep.
So it's in its third
cycle.
Cycle. And long and short of it, it's a theatre play that you go and watch, and it's a live trial being acted out. So you've got a judge, you've got prosecution and defence counsel. You watch a bit of a video in the run-up to this incident, and then you watch the murder trial of the defendant. So the Crown calls so many witnesses. First half of the show is the Crown's case. Then the second half is the defence case. And at the end of it, you as the audience vote, and it's a majority decision to see if the individual's guilty or not guilty.
And then they tell you at the end if you were right or not.
Yeah. So we enjoyed it, didn't we?
Second time we've been, isn't it?
Second time we've been. So our giveaway is the ultimate advocacy giveaway, isn't it, Hayley?
Oh yeah. Court in session, we call it.
Yeah. So we are partnered with Tiger Lane Studios, who run Murder Trial Tonight. So they're giving away 2 tickets to Murder Trial Tonight.
Yep.
And you can go and see it in any city of your choosing where it's on the theatre.
Yep. And so for example, I think Liverpool's happening now, or might have happened, might have finished.
Yeah.
If you're from Liverpool and you win the tickets, you can wait till the next cycle.
Yeah.
And come to it when it comes back to Liverpool. So
yeah.
Don't think because your city's sold out or has already happened, you can go to it next time with your free tickets.
Yeah. And we are giving away a 3-month membership for the Advocacy Club this summer, when you will be conducting a criminal trial. So you'll do an opening speech, you'll do your witness handling, which is evidence in chief and cross-examination, and the closing speech.
Yep.
So you get to
watch a trial and then give it a go yourself. What could be better?
Exactly. You get to channel your inner Johnny Cochran.
Yes. And to win that, you just need to head over to our Instagram at Speed Mooting and follow the instructions, which essentially are like it, share it, comment on it, and put it on your story.
Yeah.
And follow us and follow Murder Trial Tonight.
Yeah. Simple.
Simples. And this competition is running until the 29th of April.
Yeah.
Winners will be announced on the 30th, so there's still plenty of time.
Good luck.
Right, we have a question.
We have a question.
We did a little bit of a boo-boo, we'll be honest. So this was a question that someone gave to us after the National Speed Mooting competition, which was that 2 weeks ago tomorrow? 3 weeks ago Saturday? Yeah. And we were like, oh, that's great, we'll answer it on the podcast. And then last week's podcast, we completely missed this question, didn't we? So he sent us a really nice email, like, that podcast was great. Are you going to answer my question? So we're going to answer your question now.
So 1,000 apologies for not answering it last week.
I think that's the first time we've done that. Hopefully we won't do it again. Please forgive us. Have you got the question?
Yeah, let me just grab it.
Well, we're both in matching Speed Mooting hoodies.
Yeah, let's take this as an opportunity actually to point this out. So this is the new merch we've got. So I don't know if you can. So I don't know if you can see that, the Speed Mooting logo on there.
Speed Mooting. It's the comfy. I've been saying for ages that we've got t-shirts which are great, but a girl needs a large hoodie. We just need them. And yeah, we finally got one, guys. And it's good. We do need to start selling merchandise soon.
Yeah, we definitely do. I'm sure there'll be people that would be
who doesn't want to
who wouldn't want to be seen in Speed Mooting. Let me find the question. So this individual have been given some feedback in the competition. So all of the judges give feedback to the competitors that they see at the competition. So that's always a plus of entering our competitions. I was told I had to explain my authorities more. I understand authorities are the previous cases or precedents in the bundle, but I'm not sure how to go about explaining them more. I thought I'd made reference to them in my arguments, so I'm not sure what the ideal way of doing this is. Is there any chance you can give me an explanation for that? So I think that's a really good question for a number of reasons. A, because this particular individual is a non-law student, so huge credit to him for having a go at the National Speed Moots. Massive credit to this individual. And we have a few non-law students that take part, actually. So it's understandable if you're yet to even start your legal studies, you know, why you'd be asking questions like this. And even more fundamentally is how you actually go about applying the law in a moot. So I think it's a brilliant question. So let's break this down to the fundamentals, because a number of our listeners are yet to start their legal studies. So I'll take this back, strip it back to its bare bones. So in England and Wales, we have a common law legal system, which means our law comes from two places. Statutes, which are acts of Parliament. So, you know, Offences Against the Person Act, the Theft Act, Human Rights Act, all the rest of it. Yeah. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So the those pieces of legislation provide you with the law. But where we also get our law from is from case law that comes from the senior courts in this country. So the High Court, Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. So a judgment is law. And so it sort of fills the blanks a little bit. It fills the gaps in between your legislation, if you will. And so when it comes to mooting, sometimes, you know, you might find that the moot involves a piece of legislation that, you know, you're arguing over. So, for example, we've done one in the past where it was GBH with intent and the defence was consent. And so the issue is, can you consent to GBH? So you've got your primary piece of law, which is Section 18 of the Offences Against the Person Act. And then from there, you've got all the case law that interprets that particular offence. And that is your law, obviously. First year law students will no doubt remind us that Crown and Brown is the leading authority on that. So what you're doing in a moot is you're searching through, you're looking for case law that supports your argument ultimately. So let's take that as a really simple example. So let's say you were acting for the prosecution in a case like that. So it's a Section 18 offence and the defence is consent. So you're prosecuting and you're trying to argue, well, consent is not a defence to this. You will be relying heavily upon the case of Crown and Brown. And so the way in which you would bring that in is you would say, well, my key submission is that consent is never a defence to this offence. The leading authority on this is the case of Crown and Brown, and unless you've had formal citations dispensed with, you'll use the full citation at that point. And then what you might do is you might explain what the facts of the case were if you think that they're particularly relevant. But you'll explain what the principle was, so ultimately the ratio of the case, so why the case was decided in that way and what it establishes. So you'll say the ratio of that case was, you know, whatever. You might go to the leading judgments in that case, and there might be, you know, a key sentence in there that says, well, consent can never be a defence. The reason being, and it really hammers home your point there. And so that might be one way in which you go about it. Might also be the case that you're not just relying upon the principle. There might be a case where the factual matrix is so similar that you're relying upon the facts of that particular case. So we've done another moot whereby it was a drink driving case, and an individual has gone to a party in a sort of private members club. He's in the car park there, and in the middle of the party he gets caught getting in his car and moving it from one space to the other. And he's already had a few drinks at this point. And his defence was, well, this car park is private land, and therefore I don't fall foul of the drink driving legislation, because to be convicted of drink driving, you need to be driving on a road or a public place. And he's saying, well, if it's private, it's neither public nor a road, sorry, a public place or nor a road. So that's one of those where, it's very fact specific, and there's so much case law on that. So you might be looking for existing examples. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. There's nothing that's as prominent as Crown and Brown, let's say. But, there's case law. For example, there was a case of an individual that was driving on a university campus.
Mm-hmm.
And given the specifics of that case, the university campus was held to be a private place and not a public place. So in that circumstance, you might say, well, I'll draw your lordship's attention to that case of, I'm going to make up the name of it, it's
Smith and Jones.
Smith and Jones, let's go with that, nice and simple, Smith and Jones. The facts of this case were as follows, and it was established in this case that because, I can't remember why it was held in that way, but, let's say it's because there were a limited number of people that had access to the university campus, outsiders couldn't get in, and there was a specific barrier that prevented certain cars from coming in. It was held in that case that was a private place. By comparison to the present set of circumstances, the facts are very similar, because the car park to this private members club had a barrier. Only members of the club could access it, and it was a limited number of people that could go in. So you can see what you're doing there. You're drawing that analogy with the existing case to the case that you're relying upon. Other ways that you can bring your case law in as well, and this is where, let's say you've got a moot whereby the law is against you, and there's not a lot of law that can really help or support your case. Well, number one, you need to distinguish the existing case law. So let's go back to our Section 18 example, and you're trying to say, well, it's the defence is going to be on public policy or a cultural exception, whatever it might be. Look at the facts of your present case and try and find any way that it can be distinguished from the principles in Crown and Brown. So you might look at what the ratio is. You might look at what was said specifically in those leading judgments and say, well, the way in which the judgment has been given, the way in which that paragraph has been phrased, it would appear that what they're looking to deal with are these types of scenarios. In our present case, it can be distinguished because it doesn't really fall within the same remit. Or, let's say the facts of the case are very different. You try and distinguish it that way. And then beyond that, you can look for obiter dicta. So that's sort of passing comment within the judgment. So in other words, when the judges are thinking out loud, okay? So you've got your judge thinking out loud, and, it's not binding law. It's just the judge saying, well, in this situation, if the facts were these, maybe this would happen. And you can look at that, and that might be helpful. And of course, it's not binding in your moot, but you can say, well, that's persuasive, okay? So that's just, a few tips from me as to how you use case law in your moot and how you go about explaining your authorities.
There we go.
So I hope that's helpful. If you have, or if anyone's got any questions off the back of that, please feel free to send them in, because I'm always happy to, sort of help people, specifically in relation to mooting as much as I can.
Yep. So to the person that asked us that question, thank you for your patience.
Yes.
We hope that answered it sufficiently. And if you have any follow-ups, drop us an email.
Yeah, please do.
Perfect. Well, it's getting dark.
It is.
I need to edit this podcast. You've got your attendance notes and stuff to type up from today.
Yeah.
And then we need to plan and sort out this bank holiday weekend.
We do indeed.
So to everyone listening, we hope you enjoy your bank holiday weekend.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this Tuesday onwards, we hope you enjoyed your bank holiday weekend. And things coming up, we've got debating at the Advocacy Club on Tuesday.
We do.
We've got family law for the very first time the following Tuesday.
And it's going to be an extra special Advocacy Club because, well, we got a few announcements for that particular session. So
We can announce it now. We'll put it on socials.
Okay, we'll be putting it on the socials. We've got a few family law practitioners that will be joining us to give a little talk for our members at the end. So
you lucky Advocacy Club members.
Lucky members. We've just launched the Plea and Mitigation Competition, and that's escalated very quickly because as we talk, I think we're knocking on the door of 40% filled already now.
Oh, I think it's over 40%.
Oh, is it over now?
Yeah, we processed loads of sign-ups earlier.
Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be around for very long. So if you're listening and you want to take part, get your name in the hat ASAP.
Speedmooting.com.
Yeah, links are all up there.
Yep.
We've got a couple of massive things coming soon.
Yeah, we've been in a few important meetings this week, haven't we?
We've been working on this since late December, haven't we?
Yes.
And we think we'll be able to make an announcement on this next week.
Yeah, we're launching something new. That's all we'll say.
That's all we'll say. It's next level. So keep your eyes and your ears peeled for that.
Yes.
And most importantly, this weekend, it's WrestleMania weekend.
I'm not losing you to wrestling this whole weekend.
No, it's fine. I'll find ways that watch it in the morning or whatever. So
I heard something that like each one is like 9 hours long or something.
Each one's 9 hours. Where have you heard this?
I'm sure it was on like Instagram or something.
Yeah, I'd be shocked by that. I would say that each show's going to be probably 4 hours. It's last year they had 16 matches across the 2 nights. So I would was it 14? No, I think it was 14 matches actually. So it's probably going to be the same. And I won't watch all of the matches if I'm honest.
I'm only joking. Watch as much as you like. But
yeah.
Just make time for some fun with your
I will.
Future wife.
Don't worry. But it's a big weekend. Let's start some predictions while we're sat here. Let's start with the biggie. Quickie. So Cody Rhodes, John Cena for the title. What are you saying?
Cody.
I
think it's too easy to let him win. And he's still got opportunities to get his 16th, hasn't he, if he doesn't win this
17th,
one?
yeah.
17th.
Yeah. My view, I think he's going to do it, and I think he'll lose it. I think he'll get an 18th. I think he's going to set the bar that high. So, yeah. We've got the triple threat match with Paul Heyman in CM Punk's corner. So we've got CM Punk versus Seth Rollins versus the OTC Roman Reigns. I can't call that one. I want CM Punk to win. I want CM Punk to win that one. It's going to be cool seeing Paul Heyman in his corner again. But
isn't he there by like under duress? He doesn't want to be there.
Ish, because he's the wise man to Roman Reigns, isn't he? So, and he owed CM Punk a favour, so CM Punk has cashed in and said, as part of my favour, come in my corner.
I mean, I definitely shouldn't know that.
You know too much about this now, don't you?
It's so pathetic that I even knew that.
So I think, I think that's CM Punk. I don't think we need to go through all the matches.
No, please don't, John.
Okay.
I've got to get this podcast edited out tonight.
We'll draw a line there, but comment below with your predictions for WrestleMania this week. And if you're still listening at this point, we need a comment. So let's go with may it please the court.
May it please the court.
Yeah. I've enjoyed recording this episode. Have you enjoyed recording it, Hayley?
I've enjoyed recording it, John.
I hope you've enjoyed listening, and we'll see you again next week.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you've got 5 seconds spare, if you're on Spotify, 3 little dots in the corner, hit them, give us a 5-star rating. It helps us massively. Take care. Cheerio.
Bye.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Enjoying our videos? Then we'd be super grateful if you could take a moment and subscribe to our channel.